But he was Greek, he wasn't Turkish.
But he was still born in Turkey.
But he was not Turkish. That's a modern construct. You are benefiting from life in England, all right? England has given you everything.
What is my alleged offence? You don't know, do you?
Your alleged offence?
Are you getting up on your phone?
And today they were forced to, or the judge dismissed the case as no evidence.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we are going to be covering much of the drama that has been happening in the UK following St. George's Day, which, for those of you who don't know, is a day celebrated by the English, but more specifically celebrated by Christians in England. And if there's one thing that we know will be particularly controversial, it's celebrating Christianity in England.
There were these scenes of people in a pub chanting things like, "I'm England till I die," and, you know, the old 10 German bombers in the air song. Here's how the police responded.
And later in the video, we will get more into St. George's Day and why it's important. But for now, there is so much popping off on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean, with woke activists coming out in force to try and besmirch the name and the legacy of one of the great empires to ever exist, albeit one that is dying before our eyes. Tommy Robinson just won a court case against the UK police who falsely arrested him at a march, so hopefully he proceeds to take them to the cleaners. Protests are erupting all around Ireland, which is looking alarmingly more like a country on the verge of civil war, as small and otherwise peaceful towns stand up and try and fight against their homes being turned into migrant camps, as the inundation of migrants continues whilst the police deploy riot squads on the protesters. So we'll be touching on these topics, and also just a quick announcement, guys. I am heading to London in the coming days, and I'll be spending some time in the UK over the coming weeks where I'll be hosting some very exciting interviews, all of which with people who I have covered on this channel before. So feel free to guess who you think those guests might be below. And if you're a part of my locals community, which you can find the links to that below, then we will be officially announcing the guests in the coming days, and you'll have the chance to ask them a question. So with that, let's get into the first part of the video, where I want to review a recent debate between historian Rafe Hadel-Manku and one of the most insufferable activists that there is, Iman Ayton.
Happy St. George's Day, first and foremost. A great chant. Remember Cecil Rhodes' great quotation. He says, "Remember, sir, you are an Englishman and have therefore won first prize in the lottery of life." Unfortunately, today it doesn't seem very much like that's very much in evidence, because whilst everybody else in our society today is encouraged to celebrate their identity and their heritage and their culture, it seems that there's one exception, and that's England and the English. You know, when the Scots and the Welsh wave their flags proudly, it's called progressive nationalism. Increasingly, when the English do that, they say that it's racist. And I think it's a huge shame because, you know, England really invented the modern world, from the English language to the Industrial Revolution, the mother of parliaments.
I can feel the hairs on the back of her neck prickling.
Well, it shouldn't be, because these are all just factual. These are all factual. The spread of capitalism around the world, you know, even the way we dress, the suit is the universal form of dress. That's an English invention too. So there's so much to celebrate about England. But, you know, and strong, self-confident nations that are the most successful don't constantly navel-gaze and self-flagellate about perceived wrongs from the past. They celebrate their achievements, but England uniquely isn't allowed to do so.
Okay, well, I appreciate the earlier points that you made. I disagree with your latter points. So I actually find it quite ironic that we're talking about St. George's Day and we're actually referring to a Turkish man. So let's just be clear. St. George's Day, the gentleman that we know, a part of St. George's Day, he was actually born in Turkey. Hold on. Apparently, he never actually came to England. And secondly, he is also the patron saint of many different countries, including Bulgaria, Ethiopia, Greece, Serbia, and Palestine. Isn't that ironic? And Portugal. Thank you. Right. So I actually find it quite interesting. Right. So I think that you're right. It's an aside, but I just thought it'd be handy to know. In terms of why this is an issue for many people that look like me, this nationalism and patriotism is basically centered around including you and excludes me. And I think what happens in these types of conversations is we conflate...
Why does it include me?
Okay, so let me explain. So we tend to conflate patriotism with nationalism. So patriotism is very much centered around supporting and devotion of your country, right? So I am a I'm patriotic. I care about my country. I was born here. I come and talk about issues that pertain to England. I am patriotic. Support and devotion. Nationalism, on the other hand, according to the Oxford Dictionary, it is support of the interests of your country to the detriment and exclusion of other nations and their interests. So by definition, Rafe, nationalism is exclusionary. It excludes people, and this is what St George's flag.
Let him come in and reply.
Yeah, well, firstly,
with.
St George wasn't Turkish. He was a Greek Cappadocian descent Roman Praetorian Guard soldier.
He was born in Cappadocia, which is Turkey, modern-day Turkey.
But he was Greek. He wasn't Turkish.
But he was still born in Turkey.
But he was not Turkish. That's a modern construct.
Right,
you can't use modern.
Guys, come on, that's not what we're debating today.
The lack of understanding of history demonstrated through those comments, mixed with her arrogance, is a deadly potion. If you don't understand what you're talking about, then that's okay, just say so. But please, don't sit there and act like you've done something when you say that St. George was a Turkish man. St. George was born around 270 AD and lived and died during the reign of Emperor Diocletian during the Roman Empire. The Ottomans conquered Constantinople, which was the capital of the Byzantine Empire, in 1453, and it wasn't until 1923 that Turkey was named Turkey, and Constantinople was only officially named Istanbul in 1930. So no, he wasn't a Turkish man, he was a Roman soldier of Greek origin. You're only about 1700 years off with that one. And there is no confusion or controversy as to why he is the patron saint of England. Like we mentioned before, he lived during the time of Emperor Diocletian, when Diocletian was persecuting Christians, destroying churches, and executing anybody who didn't give sacrifice to the pagan Roman gods. St. George stood up to this and was brutally tortured and told to recant his faith, which he did not. And because of his brave actions, he was beheaded by Diocletian and hence became a martyr. And after his death, his legendary bravery led English kings and armies to wear the flag of St. George and to wear the red cross with the white background to show their Christian faith. And in the 14th century, King Edward III of England made St. George patron saint of the Noble Order of the Garter, who were a group of high-ranking knights. This is how St. George became the patron saint of England. So, needless to say, there is a deep and rich history as to why St. George is revered in not just England, but many other Christian countries as well. But instead of trying to understand that, these woke activist idiots will try and shit on these traditions because, let's just face it, they like attention, they like seeing their face on the TV, and they have nothing better to do. And obviously, they wouldn't know bravery and courage if it sat on their face. So they have zero appreciation for the great men, the great cultures, and the great traditions that have paved the way for them to live the easy and comfortable life that they now live. Let's continue to watch as a low IQ activist constantly interrupts a high IQ historian, and then we'll get into the bits about Tommy Robinson a bit more. But before then, guys, if you haven't done so already, if you don't mind smashing that like button, help me out with the algorithms. If you like the message of this video, helps it go far and wide, and also subscribe to the channel. Let's get back into it.
But, you know, why call it nationalism? We're talking about patriotism here. It's interesting.
They're interchangeable.
It's interesting that the Scottish Nationalist Party and the Welsh Nationalists have managed to make their form of patriotism progressive nationalism, and for some reason the same isn't allowed here. When we know, thank you. When we know full well that England is one of the world's 3 least racist nations, behind only Brazil and Sweden. And yet, of course, the narrative that we get is that this is a land of systemic racism and colonialism and slavery and all the rest of it. The evidence simply doesn't stack up.
No, that's
there is no country which has got
a lie.
No, I'm sorry, this is not a lie at all. We have the most diverse parliament in Europe. We have the most diverse government. We have much better race relations than anywhere else.
Let's get back to the subject.
The subject.
We're going off on many tangents.
No, do you mind? Would you please let me finish my point?
Go ahead.
The point is that we have a harmonious society here in England. So nationalism and patriotism here isn't exclusive. My point here, which you've conveniently forgotten, is that this is an inclusive society, and I think it's about time that we celebrate it.
That's what patriotism
Winston
is
Churchill
about.
once said, "There is a forgotten, nay, almost forbidden word, which means more to me than any
May I
other."
interject now?
That word is England, and we need to reclaim for England all of those great things that we've woven up into the British national fabric.
Thank you, Kay. I think we should bring it back to the flag. So just to kind of bring a bit more context into this conversation. For me personally, when we think about the Union Jack, firstly, the Union Jack was... Union flag. Sorry, Union Jack.
We're discussing England, not the Union Jack.
Hold on. We're talking about two different flags and we're talking about St George's Day.
We're
talking about St George's Day.
Yeah, Union flag is that. When it's on the end of the back of a boat, that's a Union Jack.
Sorry. So, Union flag. Thank you. Thank you for correcting me, Kay. When you think about the Union flag, I think that is more centred around civic nationalism, which is defined as liberal kind of conservative views, equality, right? So we ended the slave trade. These are the things that a lot of people can kind of get behind, especially because that flag was represented in the 50 colonies that Britain colonised in Africa. So we can get behind that flag. But what happens with the St George's flag, again, it actually has been, as you know, it's been circulated throughout many conversations over the last week or two or a few days, is that the St George's flag is very much, or has been, hijacked by far right, and therefore, hold on a second, and therefore is connected and leads to xenophobia and racism.
I'd love to see where this mythical far right
hold on a
is.
second,
I can't find them anywhere.
Therein lies the distinction between the two flags. And so if we want to talk about inclusivity, I would say we go for the Union flag, because that one is far more inclusive, far more people can see themselves in it, that representation that we keep hearing, as opposed to the St George's flag, which has been hijacked. And it's a Turkish man. He would be an immigrant in these days.
Stop it. Get some help.
1966, there was a sea of Union flags in the World Cup. Now at every England match, there's a sea of St George's flags.
So you're saying you praised it?
The Royal Navy flag at the back there, the white ensign, is the flag of England. You go to any country church in this country, in the Cotswolds, in the Lake District, you'll see the flag of St George flying serenely above parish churches. The flag has been absolutely reclaimed, and there's no huge far-right element in this country. This is a great another myth of the left. And the right haven't hijacked... One second, please. The right haven't hijacked nationalism. The left have vacated the field. You know, in the old days, people like Tony Benn, Clement Attlee were hugely proud of the left's contributions to England, and were proud of being English. People like Billy Bragg on the left.
So are Labour.
And so are patriot. No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
One second, let me finish. What's happened now is the left hates the nation state, nationalism and borders.
Sweeping statements.
Because they are internationalists. They're not nationalists, whereas the right have always celebrated that. So it's up to the left to reclaim their proud history. You know, the Levellers, the Diggers, the Chartists. There's so much that the left can celebrate if they wanted to.
We're almost
Thank you. Let's just say about reclaim, I will just bring it back to the N-word. We have all seen many, many black people from here across the world, in the US, try to reclaim the N-word, and it doesn't negate the fact that the N-word will forever be associated as a racial slur and derogatory towards black people. So you try as you might, sir, try as you might in regards to reclaiming the St George's flag. It doesn't negate the fact that other people will feel
England
and
gave
will
you
always
a great
associate
lifestyle.
it with racism
You are
and xenophobia.
benefiting from life in England, all right? England has given you everything, and it's about time you showed some appreciation for what England has done.
That is called patriotism, sir.
Good to see you both. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, as always, on the programme. Certainly livening up the first hour.
Yeah, it's about time they showed some gratitude. But that's not going to happen, is it? Because in our modern Western culture, unfortunately, this type of behaviour, low IQ activist behaviour, is rewarded. It's not even stigmatised anymore to hate your country.
I was just wondering if you'd like to go down on a list saying you're willing to take the refugees into your home.
Of course not. Only problem is I rent.
You rent?
Yeah.
Maybe an issue?
Yeah, because they've got, well, they've put 9 bedrooms in a 4-bedroom house, so we're pretty much
So, to actually adopt a refugee and take them into your home?
Well, if I had any space, I would.
If you had any space.
It wouldn't be a nice place to bring them because it's a bit overcrowded.
Right.
But yes, if I had the space, definitely.
Thank you very much for that, love. Pop one into your home?
I live in a rental place, so I can't.
Rental?
Yeah.
You can't do it?
Yeah.
Someone else's job?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't take one?
I don't have a space.
Don't have the space?
And I mean, it's very important to understand the history of your nation, to know what you've done right, what you've done wrong, to criticise the politicians where they need to be criticised, hold them to a high standard. But in order to do this, it requires you to be somewhat learned. You need to be able to understand the matters at hand and have a civilised debate that is reality-based about this. But luckily we have Rafe in this video, who is a better man than I am, a more patient man than I am, who is able to sit there and calmly dismantle the absolute nonsense being spewed at him like a true English gentleman. And now to finish off, the situation in the UK, if you've been following my channel and watching the many videos that I've done about this, is a pretty dire one. And I do believe that they are in serious danger of having some sort of a mass social unrest in that country in the near future if they're not careful. One that has certainly not been seen in modern times. And we talked about the Irish at the start of this video. This is not making the mainstream news. Nobody's really covering this, but they are staging protests, grassroots protests, all around the country. And their government is deploying riot police on them and has brought water cannons along to use on their own citizens who have every right to protest. And I would actually go as far as to say that it is their civic duty to protest. It is their civic duty to stand up against corruption, make the will of the people heard, and protest against the irreparable demographic change that is happening in their country. And it's the same for England. Over the past few decades, they have been experiencing the same things, and it's only gotten worse and worse over the last few years. And one of the major events that has taken place over the last few months, and I made a whole video about this, was Tommy Robinson being arrested at a protest unlawfully. Let's have a quick recap of that.
Shame on you, Tommy. Shame on you. Come on, mate. Shame yeah, because the boss
And so after this, Tommy had a court date and he was facing potential imprisonment. Let's check out how the mainstream media was covering this before they went to court.
I am a journalist, yeah? Unfortunately for you, I'm a far better journalist than people like yourself, and I have more trust in people like yourself. It's the reason...
Most journalists don't have criminal convictions, though.
I've never been tried by a jury.
Well, you're about to be.
No,
you're about to be.
No,
well, you're about to go to. You're about to have a trial.
If you knew your facts, there's no jury waiting in.
But it is a trial.
Yeah, by an appointed judge.
Yes.
By an appointed judge.
Yes, and that's due to the severity of the alleged offence, and that's what courts do. They start off at the magistrates' court and it goes up to the Crown Court.
It's due to the severity of the alleged offence. What was my alleged offence? You've got one in my face.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
No, I'm bored now.
She did. What's my alleged offence?
I'm bored now.
You're bored. What a great journalist. What a great journalist. What a great journalist. Okay. This is the problem, yeah? What is my alleged offence? You don't know, do you?
Your alleged offence.
Are you getting up on your phone?
He's charged with refusing to leave an anti-Semitism protest in London.
Come on, Tom, let's move on. I haven't got a clue.
He's charged with failing to comply a Section 35 direction excluding a person from an area. So do you plead guilty or not guilty to that?
Are you the judge?
I'm asking you. I'm just asking you.
What are you, the judge?
I'm asking you. No, this is what we do, right? Journalists will come to court, and if you've got something to say, we are keen to hear what you want to say, and then you go into court, and that's it. I'm asking you to make a statement. That's all. That's normal. I thought, as a journalist, you'd know that.
Look at this is Sky News. Do you know Jason Farrell? Yeah. Let me tell you, Sky News. You know what I did? I went for an interview with your TV show, and I left a hidden camera on the side. And Jason Farrell interviewed me for an hour. And when you put your clip out, it was 2 minutes long. And what you've done, look at this. And what you've done is you took what I said, you put a voiceover, and you totally changed the context because it was the most complained about show that year. Look, this is the attitude of so-called... She thinks she takes some old high ground as a journalist, yeah? She don't even know why I'm
normally
here.
Journalists ask questions and you answer.
And I'm a journalist, that's why I'm asking you questions, darling. Are you going to wait out here to apologise when it gets proven this was all unlawful?
Oh, I'll be looking forward to watching.
And of course, Tommy won the case. They obviously didn't have a leg to stand on. This was a bullying technique, a shame ritual, whatever you want to call it.
What went on inside the trial is found that the police officers acted unlawfully. My arrest was unlawful. They violently attacked me. And today they were forced to, or the judge dismissed the case as no evidence because there was no evidence that I broke any laws. Everyone knows that who watched the video. I was attacked and I was at work. So you're a journalist, yeah? So the legislation says that they cannot, I work as a journalist, I get paid as a journalist, I have a contract as a journalist. The legislation says that they cannot issue a dispersal order to someone who's at work. So they failed on 5 different counts, but yeah.
And so as this story develops and as the people of Britain get more and more fed up This plot is going to thicken, and Tommy Robinson is organising a massive march on the 1st of June in England, which I think will probably get a massive turnout. And the reason why is because a lot of British people feel the exact same way. They feel like they're being lied to. They feel like they've been gaslit. They feel like they've been pushed to their limit. And now it appears as though we are living through somewhat of a historic moment where the polite Brits are going to rise up and hopefully, peacefully protest and mobilize and put pressure on the authorities who appear to be too cowardly to actually enact the will of the people.
I have the benefit that all you people know who I am. The point is, when it happens to me, people know about it. How many British patriots, how many nationalists, how many people who love their country are coming under attack by the police, are losing their jobs, are being censored, and no one even knows their stories? You've all turned out today. It's our day of celebration. It's our day of celebrating our identity and who we are. I'd ask again, on the 1st of June, I want to lead a march through this capital city against two-tier policing.
So I'll be making videos about these events on the channel. Make sure you're subscribed if you haven't. And also, guys, find my links below as per usual. And if you'd like to watch another video regarding these topics, you can click right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.